So, Coach, you started coaching football early 20s, like high school coaching right around 21. Got to ask now, spring game's coming up. You got several boys here of your own. Any chance we get them to get into coaching early as well? Maybe they call something in the spring game. I got Belichick has his kids on staff. Is that something you could do in the spring here?
That will not show up this spring. I got three boys, all of them completely different. Caden, Miles, and Titan. I'd say my football player is Titan, so that's my youngest. He's right in the thick of 7-on-7 right now, so he enjoys it. But you won't see those guys. You won't see them calling any plays in the spring game. Titan actually came out and practiced with our team in fall camp. So school starts here a little early, or excuse me, a little bit later. It's like week 3 or 4 of the season is when school starts. So Titan was at home. I said, all right, get up, let's go. And he practiced with us in fall camp. He hasn't done any of those this spring, but he'll be back out here on the practice field come fall camp.
I was going to say, Titan sounds like a football player. What does he play right now? What position is Titan at?
He's a utility man. He does it all. Running back, wide out, DB, So they're still at the age where they get to learn every position, which is fun.
Just get it to Titan. You want to win, just get Titan the rock. But speaking of your staff, I mean, everyone who watches you on Saturdays can tell, like, you're a football guy. You live and breathe this stuff. Who on your staff would you say is cut from that same cloth? Like, smelling salts when they're on this. I mean, maybe they're lifting early. Like, who's the most football guy on the Oregon staff?
We got a bunch of them. I'd say this, one thing I've learned as a coach is when you build your staff, you want different, right? You don't want everybody to be the exact same. But Willie Love, our strength coach, he's definitely a football junkie. He wakes up every morning and he brings unbelievable juice and passion. Coach Lapoy, our defensive coordinator, he's a juice passion guy. So I'd say both those guys are competing for the front.
What would you say is the biggest difference in you as a coach since when you got the job, now going into another season as the head guy at Oregon?
Yeah, I think, you always want to be proactive, not reactive. I think early on in my career getting here, you're reacting to a lot of things that were almost like unexpected. And now, you kind of expect the unexpected, right? And you're a little bit prepared for those moments. If this happens, this is what we'll do. If this happens, this is what we'll do. But I always say the best trait for any coach in football right now is your ability to adapt, right? I just think that the landscape of college football is changing by the day. You got to be ready to adapt and have a plan for everything. And I feel like, we've kind of fallen into a rhythm here of being a team that can adapt quick.
I always say, like, having to do your job or be a head coach in college football right now in the state that it's in, where tomorrow we'll have a different playoff, and then the day after that you'll be in a different conference. What's the next adaptation in your mind for yourself and your team at Oregon?
What's good that's going to happen, or what's bad that's going to happen?
Either or.
I mean, if I could change anything in college football, I've been pretty adamant about this. I'd love for the season to marry up with the semester, right? Right around. I'd love for the season to end around January 1st, so that way everybody that's new that's coming to your program is starting with a new season. But this past year, I mean, it goes into late into January, and that affects recruiting. That affects when guys start class. So I'd love for the season to start week 0, right, or even August, in parts of August, and start to build in to where the season falls and finishes before the next semester or next term starts.
Is that
going to happen? Probably not. Probably not, right? Because there's these thing called dollars that follow bowl games, and that seems to be the driving force. But I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, seems to be in charge until we get Nick Saban to be the commissioner, or someone to step in and be the commissioner, and then maybe we're cooking with grease there. But speaking to just your team overall, I think a lot of people, after y'all beat Ohio State in the regular season, they're watching Oregon like, okay, well, when's the letdown game going to happen? Because we see it so often, and it just week after week, it was like, no, Oregon just keeps on climbing. What do you attribute that to?
Our guys are hungry, man. They work really, really hard week in and week out. I think they really believe in the process. And then eventually it hit a wall there at the end the next time we played Ohio State. But I think that just our guys' mindset of 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, and then the hunger to improve. We never felt like we had to lose to say we can get better, right? We go to the doctor every Monday and take our medicine, right? What do we do poorly the week before that we can grow from?
I love that. Go to the doctor every Monday and take the medicine. I need that tattooed somewhere, man. But you speak to just how your team is built upstairs. Is that something that you prioritize in recruiting? Because obviously you prioritize talent, but how much are you evaluating these kids from the neck up when it comes to the high school level?
Yeah, I think after you've identified guys that check the box from a film standpoint, right? They have the characteristics, they have the ability, right? That's when you actually start having these conversations and having guys on campus and spending time with families and around their coaches, that you try to determine where do they fall, right? From a mental standpoint. And that's something probably of all the things I'm proud of our team, our mental makeup, our character on this team is really good. We got guys that love football. I think that's really a prerequisite in today's day and age of college football. You have guys that love the game and play for the love of the game. We have a lot of that. We have guys that want to be coached, right? All those things kind of add up to success on the field.
I know last year around this time you were reading Art of War by Sun Tzu. We have any other reading we're doing right now?
I'm in a flux right now because we're in the middle of spring ball, so I'm not reading anything currently, but definitely we'll pick something up after this spring.
Okay, looking forward to hearing what that reading material is. We'll have to follow suit over on this side. But you spoke about culture. With college football and the portal and NIL, like how do you go about fostering a strong culture internally with player mobility and all these things at their fingertips being at an all-time high?
Yeah, I think, one thing the portal's done is it's revealed itself a little bit. It's revealed what's important to players, right? It's revealed the team's culture. We're a team already where all the players on the team are coming over to my house to jump in the pool or eat or, spend time together. We get a lot of interaction with our guys outside of football, right? I think that connection piece is really important, and it's been something that's allowed us to attain players. I think the other piece is that our guys enjoy being here, right? They enjoy their teammates. The one thing that's great about Oregon is it's a melting pot. I might have 5 players on my team from Oregon, right? We got guys from all walks of life, all over the nation, all over the world, right, playing for our team here. And what that's created is a bunch of guys coming from somewhere else to be a part of something special. So when you have that connection, when you have guys coming from different places that really pick this place, not because of what's convenient, but because of what's best, what they see in front of them, right? That makes it tick here.
And a guy that's not from Oregon on your roster right now, from Michigan actually, Dante Moore, what was it like recruiting him the second time via the portal? What were those conversations like?
It was a lot easier round 2, right? It was a lot easier round 2. Dante became available. We obviously already had a pre-existing relationship. I think he saw all the things that he wanted and knew that they existed here, right? Because of how strong that process was the first time, how much he knew about Oregon already, the amount of players he knew on the team, the culture, the coaches that were here. I think all those things kind of paid off for Dante saying, hey, I experienced something. I'm really glad from what I learned and experienced somewhere else, but I'm ready to experience that here at Oregon.
And Tez Johnson during the bowl week is talking about Dante Moore being like a Heisman finalist, talking about how he's throwing the football in ways he's never seen before. And it's one thing to say that, but when we started to think about quarterbacks he's played with, we're like, okay, Bo Nix, pretty good. Dylan Gabriel, also a Heisman finalist. In your mind, how does Dante Moore stack up talent-wise next to a Bo and next to a Dylan Gabriel?
What would Coach Saban say right now? Rat poison, right? That's what this is. Yeah. Dante's a really talented player. So is Austin Novosad. We got some great quarterbacks on our team, and I think I always say proof's in the pudding, right? Look how the quarterbacks have done here at Oregon. You look at Bo Nix was a Heisman finalist. You look at Dylan, he was a Heisman finalist. Like we have guys that have come here and performed at a really, really high level. Dante has all those abilities, right? And so does Austin. So does some of these guys that are on our team. So I'm excited to see what he does, but he knows, and I know he hasn't done it yet, right? And that's what those games are for.
Side note, Nick Saban's first year on game day, he's up for an Emmy. What was your overall review of his first year on TV?
Everything I caught, I enjoyed because you saw a coach up there, right? Somebody that knew what they were talking about. I thought he spoke the truth. Didn't mind if he hurt people's feelings. So, I definitely enjoyed seeing Coach Saban up there, and it reminded me of the good old days of being in the staff room with him running the front of the table.
Yeah, I mean, as a college football fan, we enjoyed kind of the peek behind the curtain, so to speak, that he provided. So, I mean, he's up with some stiff competition for that Emmy, but he's got our unofficial vote on this side. But, Coach, go back to spring ball. DeCorian Moore, early enrollee, 5-star, all everything. What's been your impressions of him so far?
Man, I'm really impressed with DeCorian. He obviously he loves ball. He falls in that same category we talked about before. He's a perfectionist. He wants to do it right? So he holds himself to a high standard when it isn't right? He's beating himself up a little bit, but what he's able to do on the field, the smile that he carries on his face, the way he works every single day, and then you just see the ability, right? When you're around special players, you recognize it when it shows up, and DeCorian has those talents.
And, Coach, spring game coming up, a lot of people opting not to do the spring game or do a revised format. You opted to just say, hey, put the ball down and let's play some ball. What went into that? Why have a spring game in the current climate of the portal and all those things?
Well, I think a lot of it for us is our spring game here is so unique, right? You're going to see a stadium that's full of fans that love Oregon, and it's very rare to get the opportunity to create a game day atmosphere for your players, right? We get a chance to do that in the spring, right? Because of the amount of fans we'll have here, the support, the alumni that come back. So for me, I want to create that dynamic, get as close to game day as we can. And the best way to get, good at football is playing football, but it's a little bit different when the lights are a little bit brighter, when everybody's watching. And that's a chance for us to improve. So we will always attack that. And I know some people will do it different. If I was somewhere else, maybe I would do it different. I certainly won't do it different here.
Well, Coach, last question for you. This is arguably the toughest question we have for you. A lot of uniforms at Oregon, a lot of uniforms being worn since you've gotten there. Do we have a favorite? Is there a Coach Lanning #1 overall pick off the board when it comes to Oregon uniforms?
Yeah, for me, it certainly was our cancer awareness jerseys that we wore this past year. My wife and family got to be a part of helping design those, and it has a greater purpose, right? I think the first game we wore it was the Michigan State game, right? And you're there in the middle of the game, and part of that celebration was people getting the opportunity to ring the bell once they beat cancer or finish their chemotherapy treatment. And you might be in the middle of the game and you recognize what the jersey's about, but when you see those people ringing the bell in the middle of the first quarter or at the end of the half, like, it's hard not to have a tear in your eye and realize that there's things that are bigger than football. And I love how that jersey recognizes that.
Absolutely. I mean, that was one of those moments, if you were watching at home, you got to see that experience and see that piece. I think everybody got a little misty-eyed seeing that whole thing happen. So we're with you there. That's probably #1 pick for us as well. But, Coach, we appreciate all your time. We appreciate you making some time to talk ball with us, and excited to watch y'all in your spring game, and then excited to watch y'all get after here in the fall.
Thanks, JD. Appreciate it.